Hello there and welcome to Mondello Park for what could be the championship decider in the British GTs. The Ferrari pairing of Andrew Kirkcaldy and Nathan Kinch have two races in which to collect the points they need to clinch the title, but I'm sure the others won't let them have it all their own way. But things didn't go to plan for the Ferrari team, and the championship could have been over last time out at Silverstone in what was arguably the most exciting race of the year.
Cunningham takes the lead on the last lap here at Silverstone.
Typical British weather, we made the wrong call in at the pit stop, and we went for full wets as opposed to winters, or even staying on slicks. And on the last lap, I had about a 10-second cushion, but he was going about 12 seconds a lap faster. It was just one of these things that was the wrong choice, but hopefully we won't make that decision this time.
It was the decision by the Embassy Porsche team to gamble on slick tyres in some very changeable conditions that proved significant and demonstrated how important good teamwork really is in GT racing.
I mean, endurance racing isn't just about being the quickest on the track. The whole team have a part to play, and we've always thought in a longer race we'd be able to play our key hand, which is the sort of brains within the team. If you do what the leaders do, you're never going to beat them. You're only going to be as good as them. You have to do something different if you want to get ahead, so we took the conscious decision that hot slicks was the way to go.
Last year, Gavin Kershaw won in GT3 in the little Lotus Elise with teammate Barry White. This time, he's in the GT2 Mosler, a much larger and more powerful car, so how does it compare?
I don't think you can get any more different. We went from the smallest, lightest car on the grid to probably the biggest, heaviest car on the grid. And round Mondello, that sort of size hurts you, to be honest. We haven't done many outings this year. We're sort of cherry-picking the rounds we want to do for sponsors, things like this. And the races that we're doing, we're either podium finish or fourth. And we're off to Spain very soon with a car to do Spanish GT as well. So, real mixed bag this year. But, you know, we anticipate being podium or fourth virtually every round, which is great for the first outing for the Cadena team.
Race 1 took place on Saturday evening, and with the championship in the balance, it was going to be an important one. So here's Ben to tell us what happened.
Maintaining their 100% pole starting record, Andrew Kirkcaldy and Nathan Kinch needed just 3 points to wrap up the title, but they always looked as though they'd go for the race win as well. Mike Jordan's Porsche was alongside ahead of the Embassy Porsche, but as they braked for the first corner, it was Michael Bentwood in the blue Nissan who was making ground from fifth. Neil Cunningham was forced to give him space on the exit, and Michael Bentwood moved up into third position through the left-hander. Ferrari led Porsche, Nissan, Porsche and Mosler, while in GT3 the Marcos of Chris Payton was leading. But a telltale wisp of smoke signalled the early stages of suspension failure, and the Marcos went out on the very next lap and would be too badly damaged to enter race 2. The resultant safety car precipitated a panic of pit stops as almost everyone made their mandatory driver change. Andrew Kirkcaldy continued to lead once the safety car had been withdrawn, but Ben Collins was now in the Embassy Porsche and wanted revenge on the Nissan for the earlier pass. In an aggressive move, he slipped up the inside of Anthony Reid to take third place. It was a move worthy of touring cars, and both cars continued. But the driver really making progress was Tim Mullen in the second Scuderia Cos Ferrari. Soon up to third himself, he pressurised Michael Caine into a mistake at the corner behind the pits, and he moved up into second place. Meanwhile, in GT3, Piers Maserati was leading. Chris Stockton was in second, and there was a good battle behind, but Stockton also ran wide at that same corner behind the pits. Ashburn went round the outside into the last corner, but then was tipped into a spin by Stockton. Ashburn backed up straight into the path of Adam Wilcox. Alan Simonson also got involved in the traffic jam, and Keith Arlers was able to take advantage in the Morgan. Ahead of the mayhem, Piers Maserati was heading towards the Tech 9 team's 5th win of the season. In the closing stages, Tim Mullen caught Andrew Kirkcaldy, but he ran out of laps. So Kirkcaldy and Kinch took their 8th win of the season, as well as the title. So Devericos and Maserati won in GT3 and now need just 1 point to be confirmed as champions. While in GT2, Nathan Kinch and Andrew Kirkcaldy can be crowned British GT champions of 2005.
It's been a long year and everybody's worked really hard for it, you know. It's fantastic to win it early. It's great we don't have to go into the next few races, trying to win the championship. It's been fantastic. The car's been superb all year and really reliable. I mean, we've won all the races bar 2 and second in those, so you couldn't ask for a better season. All pole positions, And, you know, Nathan's driven superb, and the team have done a fantastic job preparing the car. So there we go, championship winning season.
Well, congratulations to Andrew and Nathan for taking the 2005 title, but there's no time for celebrations just yet because there's another race to go. Here's Ben with the grid.
The two Ferraris were separated by just 0.2 of a second in qualifying, the two pro drivers pushing each other to the limit. Anthony Reid is third in the Nissan, while Michael Caine starts fourth in the Eurotech Porsche, ahead of great rivals Embassy, the blue and red car being started by Ben Collins. Barry White has put the Mosler sixth, while the fastest GT3 car is the Vision Marketing Ferrari, driven by Adam Wilcox. Piers Maserati is hoping to wrap up the GT3 category and is unlikely to be taking any risks. Absolutely beautiful weather conditions here at Mondello Park in Ireland as we get all set for the second race of the weekend. Now, we've got new champions in the shape of Nathan Kinch and Andrew Kirkcaldy. Kirkcaldy starts this race with Tim Mullen alongside. And Rob, I think that Tim in particular is gunning for victory here today.
Absolutely. Tim has shown some phenomenal pace over the weekend so far, especially on older tyres, and it'll be very interesting to watch his progress this afternoon.
Here we go then, all set for the start. Kirkcaldy on the inside, Mullen on the outside. They've got Anthony Reid in behind them, and then we've got Michael Caine. We're on board with Ben Collins. Off we go then, down towards the first corner, and Kirkcaldy takes the initial advantage. Mullen slots in behind. Oh, very wide there. Piers Maserati trying to stay out of trouble. He only needs 1 point from this race to become champion, so he does not want all. And he's over the curb there on the inside. Alan Simonson's going side by side with him. I'm surprised Piers Maserati's getting involved in all this, because you'd think he'd want to keep the car in one piece.
You would. To finish first you've got to finish, and Piers is really pushing hard, and it's interesting to watch the Porsche 911s really bumping around over the curbs here at Mondello.
Yes, it is a tight circuit. It's bumpy too, as you say, and on the curbs they've got to be careful again. Look at Alan Simonson, the number 21 Ferrari, trying to go all the way around the outside there of Piers Maserati. They've had some good dices this year, but out in front, Andrew Kirkcaldy has the advantage. Anthony Reid running well in third place in the Nissan. We go on board with Ben Collins in the Embassy Porsche, and these two Porsches, the one just ahead, being driven by Michael Caine, are involved in a great tussle in terms of championship points, but Collins is down the inside. Oh, that's a good move from Ben Collins, but no, he hasn't got it. He doesn't make it through. Michael Caine fends him off.
He does, and there's a big slide coming out of the next corner as well. We've seen the two Porsches running nose to tail, and again it's happening again.
We're on board just behind them now with Barry White in the Mosler. Now he's got a fantastic view of all this going on ahead of him. Ooh, he gets a bit crossed up there.
He does, just coming into the clipping point of the corner, and the back end of the car slides, and a big armful of opposite lock to catch it.
Wonderful to watch that V8 powered Mosler, the engine sitting behind the driver. Lots of wonderful noise in the cockpit, and Barry working very hard, but those two Porsches are still hard at it. Now we're on board Chris Stockton. Oh, and Simonson nipped through Maserati, but now Maserati's getting back again.
And again, Piers involved in a real battle that's putting his championship hopes at risk. I really thought we'd see Piers just not tool around, but take it easy and just go for a conservative approach this afternoon.
Well, he left the door open just there, and Chris Stockton was able to take advantage. Stockton's gone from fourth to second in class, just along that one straight. Pretty impressive. Look at the two Ferraris up front. They're racing for this. No team orders applying here, and the Porsches are still hard at it. Still Michael Caine gets a little tap there from Ben Collins. Oh, this could play into the hands of Barry White behind them.
It could. It could very easily end in tears, this little battle, and Ben's so close behind Caine again, coming into the far corner.
Oh, it's tight, isn't it? You've got to protect the front end of these cars, haven't you, Rob? Because the radiators and things sit in there.
You do. They're comparatively delicate, and the water cooling systems sit at the front left and front right-hand corner of the cars, and even if you go off the circuit and just tap them lightly, you can puncture the radiators, so you've got to be really careful.
Well, it's shaping up to be a great dice. Look at this view of Ben Collins. There's a certain amount of aggression. You've got to be quite forceful here, haven't you?
Very much so. Mondello rewards aggressive driving, and you've really got to pick the car up by the scruff of the neck and push very hard.
Great to watch, and gets the power down smoothly, doesn't let the back end escape too much. Great dice between two top-class drivers here, Michael Caine and Ben Collins. Barry White's just dropped away a little bit in that battle. There's Simonson in car number 21. And again, having another go at getting past Piers Maserati, and I think he may well have done it again. I think there Maserati did give him the space. He doesn't want to get too involved in all this door-bashing action. And now Stockton here in second place in class. He's chasing after Adam Wilcox in the Ferrari. Any chance here? He's a long way behind him. Oh, bit of a lock-up, I think.
Yes, just slightly too quick into the corner, and he's lost a bit of ground coming out there.
So Wilcox takes advantage of that, pulls away again. Just a fraction back on board with Chris Stockton, though. This is a very close run thing in GT3. They've been providing us with great racing all year long. We've had lots of different cars winning in the category, but it does look as though the Tech 9 team of Piers Maserati and Dimitri Dverikos are going to wrap up the title here as long as they keep their noses clean. There we are, top three cars, all absolutely together in class. There are two Ferraris and the Porsche in between. Don't forget the Morgan has also won a race this year. The Marcos, not racing in this one, I'm afraid, has also been victorious on 2 occasions. And it's just been very, very evenly matched racing.
It has, and you can really see how much of the circuit these cars are using. At the clipping point of several of these corners, the cars are cutting the corners to the extent where they're putting 2 wheels on the grass and coming down into it. Oh, and a lock-up there from Chris Stockton in the Porsche.
Nearly an opportunity for Alan Simonson to take advantage, but he could not quite nose alongside. So he was sensible there. He's settled in behind him once again, but Simonson's going to start getting frustrated because, look, a few mistakes there from Stockton. That Ferrari is looking quicker.
It is. It's also interesting to note that the Jones brothers are there in their GT2 specification Porsche being held up by the smaller, more nimble cars. So ultimately the performance difference of the 2 categories around here isn't that great this weekend.
That's right, David Jones in the car at the moment, and there's not a lot he can do about powering past them because it's not a long straight. Look at Maserati! Oh, what's he doing? Over the curb, trying to get back inside Simonson.
Piers. Look at that. He nearly took the Jones brothers car out as well. Just the red mist getting the better of him. He really should just take a few deep breaths and settle down. And, yeah, coming around the outside of Honda there, it looks like he's done just that.
Yeah, he wants to race. You just get the feeling he wants to get stuck into this race and enjoy it, but he's got to think about the championship. Now, on board with Chris Stockton here, and Adam Wilcox has just managed to open up that gap very slightly. Behind this car, remember, Simonson still looking for a way past at any opportunity. Up towards the left-hander at Ireland. He's got to protect the inside a little bit here, but he's got it just about under control. Onto the power nicely here. Keep chasing after Adam Wilcox, sharing that white and blue Ferrari with Phil Burton. There we are, though. You can see how close Simonson is.
Yes, Ben, the UCB Ferrari really putting the motor-based Porsche under some pressure now, and he's really lining him up as they come onto the back straight.
Yeah, I wonder whether Simonson can find a bit of space here. This is an opportunity. Yes, he's down the inside. Good late braking if he could hold it, and he does, just about. Stays in front.
Absolutely. Big slide on the way out to the corner there, but a good clean overtake.
So Alan Simonson up into second in class. So we've got Ferraris 1-2 in both classes. Oh, look at that! David Jones clouts the back of Chris Stockton. Different categories, different classes of car, but getting a bit physical. And now Piers Maserati is going to go back past David Jones.
Maserati in the mix again.
Yes, I would have thought that there could be some nightmares about this race, but the car actually is in one piece. I don't think he's actually done any damage to it. It's all been a bit fraught. So he's still in 4th position in the class. That's plenty good enough for him to wrap up the title. But David Jones in the GT2 Porsche right with them. Now, this is the race for the lead. I said there were 2 Ferraris dicing for the lead. Mike Jordan there keeping an eye on how Michael Caine's getting on. Well, there is Michael Caine in the white and blue Porsche. He's running 4th. The Nissan ahead in 3rd, and in 5th place it's the Embassy car being driven by Ben Collins. So we've got sort of several groups to worry about. The top 2 Ferraris, and then this little group all racing for 3rd place.
It almost looks as if Anthony Reid is perhaps holding the 2 Porsches up behind him as well. When you see cars running that close together at this stage in the race, see Caine, he's just lining big lock up there from Anthony Reid, and contact as they came into the corner. Oh no.
Oh, Anthony Reid is pitched into a spin. Oh, look at Michael Caine, he was so sideways. Wonderful car control, but I'm afraid you put a wheel on the grass like that and Collins is going to take advantage.
And out of that little trio, we see that Michael Caine's dropped back a place, Anthony Reid's dropped away completely, and Collins has moved up from 5th to 3rd now.
Well, it's been a great lap for Ben Collins, hasn't it? And Michael Caine will be kicking himself for that little error. These 2 Porsche teams have had wonderful rivalry this year. And, what's going on here? Oh, that's Barry White. Barry in the Mosler. He's spun it. This corner is catching out a lot of people. The curb on the inside can be a little bit dangerous. And there's Jonathan France urging Ben Collins on. Get on with it. Chase after those Ferraris. Let's put them under some pressure.
Absolutely. We know at the front Tim Mullen's putting Andrew Kirkcaldy under a lot of pressure, but that's a big gap now between second and third. And back on board with Barry White in the Mosler there. There's not a great deal of reversing going on.
No, he's quite deep in the gravel. I hope they can get that car back out. There you can see those two Ferraris. Kirkcaldy leading with Tim Mullen in second. There's Gavin Kershaw on the left of the picture. He due to take over the Mosler that's in the gravel, but not a lot he can do about it at the moment as the Mondello Park marshals go to work. I wonder if they're going to be able to get him out. The rear wheel almost on the grass, but it's a big car to try and shift.
It is 1,000 kilos of Mosler, will never be easy to push out of the gravel, and looking back at the onboard as we come into that tricky left-hander, the back end just slides away, and he got the opposite lock on quickly, but just slid into the gravel, really unlucky.
Well, very unfortunate for Barry White, and with the car stranded, we can see the leaders just coming around into the last corner, but I think the safety car has been scrambled. No great surprise that, yes, onto circuit it comes, so everyone will now stack up together. Could give a chance to the Embassy Racing Porsche. Let's hope the Mosler gets back in the race. Stay with us. Welcome back to Mondello, where the safety car is currently on circuit. Andrew Kirkcaldy leads his teammate Tim Mullen as they just keep up a bit of tyre temperature, but there's been some fun and games in recent laps. Let's take a look back at what happened to the Nissan of Anthony Reid. Ooh, all went a bit wrong there, Rob.
It did. Coming down to the double apex right-hander, he had a big lock-up. He was very, very late on the brakes, but slid a little wide. That gave Michael Caine half an opportunity, and he just took it up the inside and tapped Anthony round as he went by.
Well, he managed to rejoin, so he lost those two places. Let's just take another look at Ben Collins' view of that same incident.
So this is Ben behind the incident. Anthony's on the left, Michael on the right. Michael slowed by his contact. He has a big moment after the clipping point there. Collins cleanly through on the inside, and as we said, to move up from 5th to 3rd in one go is super.
Yeah, that really worked well for him. Now, there's the car that was off in the gravel trap. It's back in the pits now, the Cadena Racing Mosler, and it looks as though there's a bit of clearing up to be done. There's half a ton of gravel in that car, and good to see Gavin, the other driver, getting his hands dirty. He's always gets stuck into the car preparation, trying to dig out some of that gravel. Now then, we're getting ready for the safety car to make its way back into the pits, and this race will be underway once more. Andrew Kirkcaldy and Tim Mullen, but now they've been joined, of course, because they've all concertinaed up together behind the safety car. The Embassy Porsche, the only car that's beaten the Ferraris this year, is right with them in 3rd place as the green flag flies. Kirkcaldy, Mullen, and then Ben Collins, chased by Michael Caine and then Anthony Reid. And look, now leading in the GT3 class is Alan Simonson, who's managed to get past Adam Wilcox, and there in the middle of the group, here's Maserati. Still remember, just needing to pick up a few points. The onboard view, Ben Collins, he's in 3rd place.
He is. He's got a grandstand view of the two Ferrari 360s ahead of him. Interesting to note at the restart, though, just how far back Michael Caine is. And if we look down to 4th there, a huge gap between him and Ben Collins ahead. I would have expected Michael to be right on the back of the other Porsche.
Yes, that's right. David Jones in the GT2 Porsche there, just slipping down the inside of Adam Wilcox. That's the view from on board with Adam Wilcox. The silver Porsche, in theory, should be quicker. Gavin Kershaw having a look over the Mosler. They've got it cleaned up, and they're sending Barry White back on circuit.
And didn't the look on Gavin's face tell 1,000 words?
Yes, that's right. He's still due to take this car over later in the race. On board again with Ben Collins. Let's watch this view. That sequential gear shift, helping on a tight and twisty circuit like this. There are a lot of gear changes to deal with, so not having to worry about an H-pattern gearbox where it's easy to miss a gear must make life a little bit more simple. Anthony Reid there. Amazing, isn't it, to see how quick these GT3 cars, because he's under pressure from Alan Simonson.
The light, nimble nature of the GT3 cars just making them a bit more usable around here. And no, he's doing a really good job this afternoon.
David Jones comes through, GT2 car. Adam Wilcox then in the blue and white Ferrari. Still the sun shining. It's a beautiful day here at Mondello Park. Absolutely perfect conditions for these guys. And as they come out onto the start-finish straight once again, Alan Simonson is keeping Anthony Reid very honest indeed here. That Nissan, which only came into this year's championship relatively late, they've developed it well and made good progress, RJN Motorsport, but he's being hounded by the GT3 Ferrari at the moment. And we just saw Michael Bentwood, who'll be taking over that Nissan when they make the driver change. And no doubt he'll be very aware of how much pressure is on from that Ferrari, but it's not for a class position, remember. Now we're on board with Chris Compton. He's behind Adam Wilcox. Let's try and see where the Ferrari has the advantage over the different layout of the Porsche?
In a head-to-head battle, the Ferrari usually has the edge on the brakes, whereas the Porsche, with its engine over the rear wheels, has the edge on traction. So just watch for that as the corners go by.
Yes, we've seen them late on the brakes in the Ferraris, particularly at this next section. They come down over a bit of a crest here, a kink left, and then they're into two 90-degree rights. And this is where the braking's quite crucial. Wilcox actually does decide to defend a little bit.
He did, coming down into turn 7, just moved to the inside to cover the inside line, and Stockton all over the back of him as he comes out of the corner.
Nothing to choose between them, though, up towards Bahrain's Benz, named after the man who owns the track, Martin Bahrain. And, Maserati again bouncing over the curbs on the inside there, but no damage done, and he's putting the pressure on Chris Stockton himself now as he looks for just 1 point from this race to wrap up the title. They've had a very strong season. They started particularly well, and really they went about it the right way. They got the wins in the early stages of the season. They had one or two problems, particularly some punctures in the mid stages of the year, which rather put them off their stride, but they've always been on the pace, and it does look as though they are going to wrap up the title in this race. Stockton just ahead of them, and Adam Wilcox driving smoothly. Wilcox, the reigning champion in GT3, but he only came in the about the mid stages of this season to join Phil Burton.
He did. Phil Hindley's Tech 9 team, though, as you said, did the job in the early season. We see Dimitri Deverikos getting ready to climb in to take Piers Maserati's place. They did so well in the early stages, and as you say, with that almost series of punctures, it hasn't really affected their championship hopes, and here we see Piers just going around to collect that point, and he's coming down the inside of Chris Stockton. Oh, Piers doing a spot of rallying there in the Porsche.
Probably just as well Deverikos isn't looking at a monitor and seeing all this, just getting ready to take over the car. He's been so impressive this year, Dimitri Deverikos. We didn't really know much about him. The Greek driver didn't have any experience of the British circuits, and yet he's been very, very good indeed, and has been a very able partner to Piers Maserati in that car. And he's going to be taking it over fairly soon now as we get towards, yes, it is pit stop time, and already in the pits, in fact, is Anthony Reid, who's handing over to Michael Benchwood. Both have driven in the British Touring Car Championship in the past, of course. In comes Piers Maserati, and it is Dimitri Deverikos to take over. Just saw the Morgan coming in as well. Keith Arler's about to hand over to Oliver Bryant, but Adam Wilcox is staying out there for the moment. So Adam Wilcox still in a good position. Phil Burton will be taking that car over in a little while, but we saw Anthony Reid jumping out of the Nissan. Seems to be a bit of work going on down there. Let's see if we can hear from Anthony.
Yeah, the car was going great for the first couple of laps. Consolidated my third position, which I'd got in qualifying yesterday. Car felt good, that we were quicker than the Porsches. But suddenly it started to develop a misfire on lap 3, and the misfire got progressively worse. Didn't help the fact that a little bit later in the race I got punted off by one of the Porsches. I came here to sort of escape the smashing and bashing of British touring cars, but it seems to go on here too.
Yes, Anthony, of course, and you were never guilty of any smashing and bashing yourself, were you now? OK, we're back to the two race leaders, and it's Andrew Kokodi and Tim Mullen, and these two are having a real proper race for it this weekend, Rob.
They are. Tim's putting Andrew under a lot of pressure. Oh, and Andrew's just running. Oh. He's off. He's in the gravel. And into the lead goes Tim Mullen. A very, very rare mistake there from Andrew Kokodi, and that's given Tim, a huge lead. Oh,
well, Andrew Kokodi running wide, would you believe it? And I wonder if there's any damage done. I think he may have got away with it, but Tim Mullen is now leading this race. Could we see a turnaround? Because this Ferrari, the number 34 car, is yet to win a race this year, but Tim Mullen and Chris Niarchos have been so competitive, pushing all the time. They've had quite a lot of bad luck. This could be their big opportunity. And Andrew Kokodi, well, I think he did have a bit of a late night last night, celebrating the championship title being won. I wonder if he's got any regrets at this stage.
I'm not sure, but I think he's going to have to make a pit stop to clean the front of his car out. Drops the right front corner off the circuit on the approach to the corner and just runs through the gravel on the exit, but it's the grass there which will have blocked the radiators at the front of the Ferrari, and I'd expect to see, into the pits this lap to clear the rads out and also to do their driver change, Ben.
Well, you can forgive Andrew. He's had a faultless season up to this point. They've had a brilliant year, these guys, and the number 35 Ferrari is the championship-winning car. Mike Jordan getting ready to take over the Porsche from Michael Caine. We're riding on board with him, and let's see whether he can get any closer to Ben Collins before the pit stops are made, because that could be crucial to to try and gain that position back. Tim Mullen leads. I wonder how long they'll leave him out before Chris Niarchos takes over.
Well, Tim's in clean air, Ben, and he's pushing very, very hard at the moment.
Andrew, that's a bit unlike you.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened. I think there was... I either dropped the wheel off the road or there was some moisture or something down because I just locked a right wheel. I couldn't stop and I went off.
Come on, it was pressure from Tim.
No, he wasn't that close. I mean, I was just trying to do consistent lap times, but maybe too much celebrating last night, I don't know.
So Andrew Kirkcaldy, well, he can go and recover now, can't he, and see what happens. Will Tim Mullen be able to hold on to take the first win for the 34 car this season? And Chris Niarchos will be so fired up. The Canadian businessman who just loves his racing and has been looking for this opportunity all year. He'll be pacing up and down the pit lane now. There's still a little way to go, though, in this race. Stay with us for more. We're at a sunny Mondello Park, and Alan Simonson in his Ferrari is currently leading in the GT3 class, and there's a Ferrari leading outright too. But it's not the Andrew Kirkcaldy Nathan Kinch car, it's Tim Mullen leading in the number 34 car. Ben Collins currently running second, Michael Caine third, and all those top guys yet to make their pit stops and their driver changes. There's Michael Caine. He'll be handing over to Mike Jordan fairly shortly, I should think. In the pits, though, is the Nissan. Now, Michael Bentwood has already taken this car over from Anthony Reid, but there's obviously problems with it. It shouldn't be sitting in the pits at this stage. It was running very competitively in the early stages, but sadly, it does look as though it's got some problems. We're riding on board with Michael, but I think we can now hear from Michael Bentwood.
We had some problems in the warm-up this morning that Anthony experienced, and we thought we'd cured it, and it's just come back with a vengeance, unfortunately. It went straight out, and whilst the engine pulls quite cleanly low down, it gets to a certain rev range and just feels terribly ill. It's got a really bad misfire.
So the Nissan unable to play any further part in this battle up front. So it's these two Porsches again, so well matched. Two top teams running these cars, both with great driver pairings. And this one's going to run and run to the flag, I think, Rob.
And I can't help but think that if Michael Caine had been a little bit closer at that restart, he could have put Ben under a lot more pressure in these stages now, just before their driver change.
Here we go, Ben Collins into the pits. Watch as he comes in, it's very tight there. The driver of his experience won't have a problem, but you can see novices sometimes getting into trouble around that hairpin. Now, Neil Cunningham's going to take over. We get a great view. He slides the seat back, pulls himself out, steering wheel is removed, and Neil Cunningham takes over.
Ben Collins out, Neil Cunningham in, and we see Ben helping Neil with the seatbelts there, the steering wheel going back on, and Ben plugging his belts in and also plugging the radio in so the pits can talk to Neil, and he just gets the seat position right before firing the engine and moving off. And Alan Simonson now handing over to Hector Lester in the GT3 leading Ferrari 360.
So some crucial pit stops being made. Chris Stockton yet to hand over to Andy Britnell, but he has just taken over the lead in the class. So, oh, hang on a minute. What's going on here?
He's got a box of neutrals there, Ben. There's not a whole lot of drive. No, he's got no gears at all there, and there we see Wilcox going back through.
Oh, would you believe it? Chris Stockton. They've had 2 wins this year. They won last time out. Dramatic circumstances at Silverstone.
He's got a gear now, though. I don't know if he's got many, but he definitely got one, and there we see Neil Cunningham rejoining after his pit visit.
Well, let's hope that Stockton can get back to the pits, but whether they can sort out a problem like that quickly in the pit stop, I'm not too sure. Neil Cunningham then rejoins. Let's just listen. He's got a gear change there, all right, but I'm not sure he's got all of the gears. He might maybe just have a couple.
I don't know. The motor-based car sounded to be running well when we were on board with him a couple of seconds ago, but no, we'll have to wait and see.
Right, well, there is Michael Caine. Now, he comes in for his driver change, and Mike Jordan will take over. Now, this is crucial as well, because Chris Niarchos is climbing aboard the number 34 Ferrari that was leading in the hands of Tim Mullen. Into the pits, here comes Michael Caine. Mike Jordan all set to take over here in the 77 car. And Michael just about manages to extricate himself. The Dunlop tyres are checked, make sure that everything's okay for this second stint. Mike Jordan now getting himself strapped in. There is a minimum amount of time they have to sit in the pit, so there's no true panic there.
Yeah, it's most unlike the X10-second pit stops we used to do in the big old TVR.
Now let's hear from Tim Mullen.
Yeah, we're really putting Andrew under a lot of pressure this weekend, and he made a little mistake just right in front of me there. At the start of the race, it was a little bit quicker, but just because there's nothing between it, it's, you know, the only way past is literally to ram your way past, and we don't really want to be doing that when we're teammates. So I was just pressurising him again. He made a mistake on the penultimate corner, so Chris has got the lead now. You know, all he has to do is bring it home, so hopefully fingers crossed, legs crossed, everything crossed. So I think we deserve a win, you know. We've had a lot more bad luck than the 35 car, so we do deserve it.
Well, let's hope it all comes right for Tim Mullen. He has driven superbly well here, and they do deserve an opportunity. Now then, just riding on board here with... Oh, no, look, the Arcos has spun! Would you believe it? That is Tim Mullen's teammate.
I'm lost for words.
Oh no, Chris Niarchos. Well, I'm sure he was so keyed up seeing his car out in front in this race. The adrenaline was flowing through his veins, and maybe he just got a bit carried away. On board here with Neil Cunningham, and look how these two Porsches have swapped around, because Mike Jordan is now ahead of the Embassy car.
Better pit work from the Eurotech team, but I can't believe Chris has gone off on his outlap, and he's finally got reverse, but has he stalled there? Oh, he's lost so much time. He'll be absolutely livid with himself, Ben.
He will. It's going to be hard for him to have to accept this, but he's just got to get on with it now. And the Marshal's doing a good job of helping him get back on circuit, but so much time has been lost. I don't really think there's any chance for him to close up that gap. And a possible win has just gone out of the window. I wonder if Tim Mullen knows exactly what's happened. David Jones handing over to Godfrey now in the GT2 Porsche, and also into the pits is this Chris Stockton car that we've been wondering if they've had a gearbox problem.
Dave Bartram there from Motorbase stopping the car, and it'll be interesting to see if they have a check underneath the engine cover, as we also see the Ferrari that had been driven by Adam Wilcox making their driver change.
Yeah, Phil Burton taking that car over. Now, here's Andy Britnell to take over from Chris Stockton. Now, are they going to be looking around that gear linkage at all? I'm not sure. It looks as though they're just going to be sending him out on his way. So Nathan Kinch is now leading this race once again, and after finding themselves in second place after Andrew ran wide, now Nathan Kinch finds himself in front, and he's just got to keep it clean to stay there. Oh, problems for Phil Burton.
These Ferrari 360s can be really difficult to fire up with their semi-automatic gearbox, and he's having trouble getting the engine started.
Sounds as though it's finally running. He's actually still got a bit of time left on his 45 seconds here anyway, so it hasn't delayed him at all, so it actually won't make too much difference. Now then, Neil Cunningham in the Embassy car, still chasing after the Eurotech example, and Andy Britnell heading out in the Motorbase Porsche. Let's hope that he doesn't have any problems with that car. We did see that Chris Stockton appeared to be having some sort of gear change problem, and then it seemed to be sorted out once again, and now Andy Britnell's got to see if he can work out what's going on here. Chris Stockton actually in the pits trying to explain it to his team.
It's bouncing into neutral all the time. Is it bouncing back again? You come down a gear and it just sits in neutral, then you've got to go back up to another gear to get it in a gear to try and come down again.
Well, Chris Stockton certainly having problems in that car, wasn't he? Now, look at Dimitri Deverikos in the number 9 car. Oh, he's braked very late there, running wide onto the grass. Dear oh dear, both he and Piers Maserati seem to be doing their best to throw away the advantage. Let's now hear from Chris Stockton about his problems.
We've been struggling a little bit. We thought we were very lucky to be able to go to a sequential from a H pattern from a few races ago, and it's run well. It's run well in testing. It's run well in Phil Quaithe's car. But unfortunately this weekend we've had problems we haven't really been able to rectify. We seem to be able to rectify them, and then it just goes progressively worse. We think it's a linkage problem. It's nothing major. The gearbox is absolutely sound, but it's just a selection problem at the moment.
So disappointment for Chris Stockton, but hopefully they'll still get a finish from that car. Look at these two Porsches still racing hard. This is for second place. Nathan Kinch continues to lead, but Mike Jordan runs in second ahead of Neil Cunningham in third. There's not a great deal of difference in the championship points between these two teams. After Silverstone, they're separated by just 3 points, so it's pretty crucial from Mike Jordan's point of view. He stays there. They could make it even closer going into the final round.
Yes, Ben, exciting times for both Team Eurotech and for Jonathan France's team. They're both looking at some exciting plans for next year, so it'll be interesting to see what pans out there.
Nathan Kinch continues to lead in the Ferrari from Mike Jordan and Neil Cunningham as we ride on board with Neil Cunningham. We are getting into the latter stages of this race. The tyres will be starting to go off a bit. It is a tight and tortuous circuit. Anything could still happen. Stay with us. We're into the final third of the GT race from Mondello Park, and Hector Lester there is running in 5th place overall and leading in the GT3 class, but no, not for much longer, because Dimitri Deverikos has just managed to nip past him. And oh, there is Phil Burton's car being pushed away. Now, I don't think they ever got that properly fired up after the pit stop. And that's a great shame, because that car was flying in the early stages in the hands of Adam Wilcox. There's Michael Caine, now watching to see how Mike Jordan's getting on in the number 77 Porsche. That's how he's getting on. He's in 2nd, but he's being hounded at the moment by Neil Cunningham.
He is. Neil's getting closer and closer, and that was Michael Caine taking career advice off Mike Jordan's son, Andrew, in the pits there, Ben.
Yes, Andrew's already making a bit of a name for himself. He could be a star of the future. We'll have to watch out for him. But concentrating on this race for 2nd, look, moving out of their way there was Andy Britnell in the GT3 class car. We know that there are some gearbox problems. Look at the urging on that's going on from Team Eurotech. Both Porsche teams are absolutely fired up to try and win this private battle, but Neil Cunningham's got the work to do.
He has, and the roles have just been reversed from the first half of the race, where we saw the Embassy car leading, being chased by the Eurotech car. In the latter stages, because of slick pit work, that role's reversed, so great stuff.
Very professional teams, both of these, and it's good to see them having such a close dice on circuit. They can't do an awful lot, I'm afraid, about Nathan Kinch, who's leading this race. But just to tell you that Chris Niarchos, who had that spin early on, he did drop down quite a few places, but he's currently running in 5th position, so he has managed to fight his way back up a little, but he'll still be feeling very, very disappointed about what happened. Now, this is the race for 4th in GT3. In the yellow car, we've got Colin Broster, but he's about to be passed there by Fred Moss in the yellow and green car. Just moves around the outside of him as they come down towards Honda corner, and in fact, just trying to come back at him there, Colin Broster.
Yeah, diving down the inside and nose to tail this little battle.
And also, look, that's interesting. Deverikos in car number 9, bit slow there, has just been passed by Hector Lester. Now, that's for the lead in the GT3 class. So I don't know whether Deverikos has got a problem, because he doesn't seem to be lapping quite as quickly as earlier on.
No, and he had his indicator on as he came out to turn 7 there. So whether he'd actually let Hector Lester back through there, you see his left-hand indicator blinking away. Whether they have a problem, I don't know.
He seems to be staying with him reasonably well, but I would have expected him to hold on to that lead if the car had been working perfectly well. So Hector Lester could be on for his 2nd win of the season, sharing with the Dane, Alan Simonson, who did a great job in the first stint of the race. And Piers Maserati and Dimitri Deverikos still in shape to take the GT3 title. And for the Tech 9 team, it'll be the 3rd year in succession that the team could win the GT3 championship. They've been very successful the last few years, but for Piers Maserati and Dimitri Deverikos, it's the driver's title they're chasing here. Hector Lester, though, going extremely well in that Ferrari and not under too much pressure at this stage.
But in the background there, Ben, you can hear the V8 engine of the Morgan of Ollie Bryant that's catching Dimitri Deverikos, and he's slowing significantly at the hairpin as, I think that's Chris Niarchos, isn't it, putting a lap on him. And there's the back of the Morgan there as they come down into the next left-hander.
Yeah, Ollie Bryant is flying. The 19-year-old has had 1 victory in the Morgan that he shares with car owner Keith Arlers, but he is really on it here, and quite a clever time that they came in to make their pit stop. It put him into some clear air earlier on in this race, and he's been taking advantage of that, and he's been lapping very, very quickly indeed. So he's closed right up to the back of Dimitri Deverikos. I'm sure Deverikos has got a problem with this Porsche. He's not running at full pace, so whatever it is that's slowing him down, hopefully he can still get to the finish and wrap up that title. It would be a bit of a disaster if it all goes wrong in the closing laps, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to fend off Ollie Bryant here.
No, he's going significantly slower than full race pace, and I'm sure it's only a matter of a couple of laps before Ollie finds a way by in the Morgan.
Ollie Bryant, one of the most impressive newcomers to British GT in 2005, but where's he going to find a chance to get through? That's the question mark, because it's not easy. Could do it up into the final corner. Dunlop No, decides against it. He's looking for the better run out of the corner.
Yeah, takes a wide line on the way in. That's wise driving. He'll get a good clean run out of there and hopefully be able to sneak by on the way into the Honda hairpin at the top. And he pulls to the left-hand side there, and I think he's made the pass already. Yes, he has. So De Vericos lacking in straight-line speed there, it looks like.
Yes, it sounded like he might have been on the rev limiter there, so perhaps he's got restricted gears, and that's why he's just not running at full pace. But Bryant is flying, and you can just see the car twitching around a little bit. He's now in second in the GT3 class. And talking of second or third in the GT2 class, we've still got Neil Cunningham in third there in the Embassy car. Hasn't managed to find a way of getting past Mike Jordan as yet, so it's P3 for Embassy Racing, and he's being urged on. Get on with it. Chase after that other Porsche.
Are they trying to urge him on, or do you think they were trying to hitch a ride? It's quite funny. Poor old Neil will be flat out in that car, and seeing his mechanics waving him on will do nothing for his confidence.
Yeah, but don't forget what he did manage to achieve in that last race at Silverstone, Rob, when he was being urged on, and he made up 19 seconds in 2 laps.
He did. He drove like a hero that day, and he's still talking about it now.
Well, he has every right to. They were on the right tyres at the right time, and he made the most of it. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to repeat that here, because Mike Jordan's looking pretty much wheel perfect. Now, how's Ollie Bryant getting on? Oh, look, how much closer he is to the lead car in GT3. And Hector Lester could have a race on his hands now to take the win here at Mondello Park. That Morgan is going very quickly.
Hector Lester has got a race on his hands. The Morgan is glued to the back of the Ferrari 360 now, pushing really hard, just running a touch wide coming out of there. And as they come into that long left-hander, the Morgan will be early back on the power and look to get a run into the next one.
You know, it seems to have a lot of grip. It doesn't look as though the tyres have got off at all. A little bit of a twitch there from Hector Lester now. We saw Ollie Bryant go the wide line into this Dunlop corner last time. I think he's going to try and repeat the same performance. Will he get the run? Look, he's putting rubber down on the track. He's so early on the power.
Ooh, he very nearly got squeezed into the pit wall there. I saw a couple of pit boards being pulled back in, and as he runs to the outside coming into Honda there, he just has to tuck back in behind.
Well, he hasn't got much time here, Ollie Bryant, to do it. When the leader comes over the line next time, they'll go on to their final lap, but he's attacking here, really going for it. Now he's on the outside. There's a kink right coming up, followed by an even tighter right-hander. Can he slip down the inside here? No, Hector Lester's doing a good job of holding the middle ground, but look how tidy the Morgan is. It's just not sliding around. He can put the power down. Again, he gets side by side with the Ferrari. Surely he's not going to go around the outside there. No, he's not.
No, Hector just driving a really wide Ferrari 360, and it's a long lap here at Mondello Park, 3.5 kilometres with lots of corners, so the time is quickly ticking by for Ollie Bryant, but he's trying at every opportunity to get past.
He is attacking now. Just ahead of them is Andy Britnell, although he's nearly a lap down, but he's running on the road just ahead of them, so they've got to be a little wary. There is this battle for the lead in GT3, the Ferrari versus the Morgan, the mid-engined V8 powered Ferrari versus the front-engined Morgan. Quite different characters of car, and who's it going to be who comes out in front? Look, Britnell moves out of the way there to let the battle go on, and they're almost touching there as they came past him through Bahrain's Bends, and again Hector Lester has to defend to the inside.
Very, very tight as they came out of Bahrain's, and they couldn't be much closer as they come towards the start of their final lap now.
Oh, this is great racing. Is Ollie Bryant going to find a way past Hector Lester? Hector must be enjoying this, but it's all a bit anxious too. The race leader is Nathan Kinch, and it's going to be another victory for Scuderia Ecos and the number 35 car. They've wrapped up the championship here this weekend, and they're going to take double victory. Nathan Kinch celebrates by coming right over to the pit wall as the checkered flag waves. Kinch and Kokotti win again. Who's going to take second? I think it's going to be Mike Jordan, who has managed to fend off Neil Cunningham. It's been a real game of cat and mouse between these two teams, and a wonderful finish. And there you could just see Andy Britnell sort of trailing over the line with his gearbox problems, and a smile on Piers Maserati's face. They've done it. They've wrapped up the championship. Piers Maserati and Dimitri De Vericos have won the GT3 championship. But who's going to win the GT3 class in this race? Oh, look at the Morgan putting more rubber down there. Ollie Bryant is so fired up.
He is, and he's got half a lap left to make a move on Hector Lester, who, to be honest, Ben, I think has driven immaculately so far.
Yeah, he hasn't put a wheel wrong. There is Andy Britnell. That gearbox, I don't think, lasted the full distance in the end. They should still be classified as a finisher. A bit disappointing for them, and they've lost any chance of winning the title. Hector Lester, make sure he doesn't run wide. He's not going to hand the opportunity, but the Morgan now has got a great run, and he's going to accelerate. He's on the inside for Bahrain's Benz. This could be the move of the race. He's down the inside. Hector Lester can't do anything about it. Ollie Bryant's taken the lead in the class.
Great run out of turn 7 for Ollie Bryant there, and he just made the move on the inside to Bahrain's and just forced Hector Lester in the Ferrari just a touch wide, and you can see that Ollie is now really getting the hammer down and pulling away towards that checkered flag, Ben.
Yeah, he's just got the final corner to go, and the Morgan's going to take its second victory of the season. It won at Thruxton, and now on the completely different Mondello Park circuit. Look at that lane rubber out of the final bend. Keith Arnold and the team go crazy down there on the pit wall. They have won the GT3 class, but the new champions are Maserati and De Vericos.
Piers, congratulations. How's that feel?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we finished third, so it wasn't too bad a result. Dimitri had lost 2 gears, I think, in the gearbox, so fantastic result, and I think we're not going to Silverstone, so this is a good way of finishing it.
So Piers Maserati and Dimitri De Vericos finished third in the GT3 class, enough to wrap up the championship, but the class was won here by Ollie Bryant and Keith Arlers. In GT2, it was a close battle between those 2 Porsches for second place, but Nathan Kinch and Andrew Kirkcaldy came through to win again. They are the new champions.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic for the team. Today is a wee bit disappointing that Chris didn't bring it home when we had a 1 and 2, but it's been a really good year for us, and we've really enjoyed it. The guys have been fantastic, all the drivers, the team, all the guys have been really good.
And where'd you go from here?
Well, I like the British GT, so I'm certainly looking very closely at coming back, but there's obviously other series that we're looking at. I definitely want to be back at Le Mans next year, hopefully with 2 cars, and we'll have to just look at the LMES and FIA, what's happening with that, but hopefully with 2 Ferraris next year.
So Kinch and Kirkcaldy are confirmed as champions, but the real battle to watch out for, there are just 2 points separating the 2 Porsche pairings, and that's going to go all the way to Silverstone. In GT3, Maserati and De Vericos have wrapped up the title, but it's close behind. Lester Simonson only 3 points ahead of Ollie Bryant.
So congratulations to Nathan Kinch and Andrew Kirkcaldy for taking GT2 honours, and to Piers Maserati and Dimitri De Vericos for winning GT3. But we've still got 2 more races for you at Silverstone, and with the titles decided, I think we can expect the gloves to come off and a few scores to be settled. So expect plenty of action. I'll see you then.